And thank you for the witnesses for being here this morning. I represent, I believe, one of the most beautiful districts in the country, Florida 26, which includes the Florida Keys and parts of Miami-Dade County. We are definitely ground zero for the effects of climate change and sea level rise. And we have seen year after year storms strengthening, crumbling infrastructure. Our coastline is eroding due to these strong storms and also sea level rise. So I know that we've been speaking this morning that the science is clear, and in order to save off the worst effects of climate change, we need to drastically reduce carbon dioxide emissions, and we need to do it very quickly. And I know that there are many ways that we can do this. One is transitioning over to electric vehicles. So my question right now is to Mr. Prochaska and Ms. Arroyo. Maybe you can both answer this question. Right now, in the southern part of my district in Miami-Dade County, we have a huge issue of, transportation, lack of access to transportation for the people living in the district that have to commute to work. It's taking them 2 hours, maybe sometimes even more. We've been trying to get rail in South Dade, and I met just recently last week with the Transportation Board that approved a fast rapid bus system. Apparently, it's the first one that's being built in the country. I've seen projects in other countries that seem to have been successful. So one of my questions, Ms. Arroyo or Mr. Prochaska, if we're going to have, one of the questions that I asked was if they were going to have electric buses. And they responded that electric buses pose two major issues. One, that they're much more expensive than traditional buses. And the second is that they're concerned with their ability to install enough charging stations. So what can we in Congress do to address this impediment for our local communities?
Thank you for the question. So we mentioned the grants program earlier that the Federal Transit Administration has been using to support investment in electric buses in 41 states. Also, many states and cities are using VW settlement money from the scandal with the VW cheating devices on the cars to invest in electric buses. So that's how they're trying to buy down the cost up front, because over the lifespan of the bus, it's actually more on par with conventional gasoline or diesel. But obviously, getting into the bus in the first place, federal incentives can play a role there, just like the VW shot in the arm or the FTA grant program helped. So pilot programs like that are one part of the solution. And the charging, certainly if a number of buses charge in the same place at night, for example, that's something that needs to be worked out. It was worked out here in DC with the circulator buses with Pepco, so you need to work with the utilities on that, but that's something that's already doable.
I'll keep my remarks very brief. And I will say that supporting FTA's efforts to allow for bulk purchasing and joint procurement will go a long ways, and so it can reduce the administrative and cost burdens associated with bus acquisition. And so I think there's opportunities for cities to convene and create those moments, and I think bus manufacturers are also really excited about those kinds of opportunities. Secondly, there is an opportunity to think about low and zero cost loans. And so the idea is that buses will pay back over time. So electric buses have significantly lower fuel costs, but oftentimes city budget and transit agency budgets prioritize low cost up front. And so if we can provide mechanisms to reduce that incremental cost difference, the buses will pay back over time. And in fact, I think we'll see it will pay back even more than the upfront cost at the beginning.
That's exactly what I fear, because they're so much more expensive that they're going to try to just use regular gasoline charged buses. And my second question, my follow-up question was, what would be the ultimate impact if the Transportation Board in Miami were to just stick with regular gas buses? What would be the effects on air quality, the health of our communities down in South Dade?
Well, I'll just briefly mention that it's hard to, I don't know the answer specifically for your community. I will say that the big challenge is that if you purchase a diesel bus right now, it's going to be on the road for 10 or 12 years. And so that's a choice that will have already been made. And that pollution and the impacts and fuel costs at that point are sunk. And so I think it's really important to make sure that the communities prioritize EV buses now because it's going to save in the future.
Thank you. I yield back my time, Mr. Chairman.